Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Aras, give praise to Allah, honor to His holy and illustrious Prophet, Noble Jew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm here with the brother. I know him as Hawatha, but I done met him in the streets of Manhattan. I done met him in the Bronx. He's a good brother, and I finally got the opportunity to have a formal discussion with the brother on camera so we can build, which is what I've been trying to actually do with the brother for a time. You know, I see him like, yo, I want to build with you because I see what you do. I remember seeing you on the DVDs. So basically, my show is called What's Your Nationality? I ask people what's their nationality and we build off that. So if I may ask you, sir, what's your nationality?
My nationality is an American African. Okay. And the reason why I do that is because in a practical world it will unite us from one side of the globe to the other. What unites us is the word African, and everything else that precedes it is where your geographical location is from.
Now, I'm going to break down some definitions, same thing I did with the other brothers. I'm just break down some definitions, some legal definitions, and that's my connotation, my feelings or emotions. This is what these words mean. Now I'm going to break down a few examples and see how we get it. Alright, so nationality is that quality or character that arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or a state. So in order to have a nationality, one must belong to a nation or belong to a state that is inhabited by a nation. Now, a nation is an aggregation or groups of men sharing the same customs, cultures, tradition, religion, and historic continuity. Did I say language? And historic continuity. And is operating with a dual society, that means a government, and does not necessarily have to be exercising its sovereign autonomous power via a nation state, such as the so-called Jews. Some of them, they don't bear witness to Israel being their nation state, but they are still nationals of a stateless nation. You feel me so far? I feel you. All right, so now we got nation, nationality. A country, right, is a territory occupied by a nation that is exercising its political jurisdiction across metes and bounds. That means this starts here and it ends here. The country is the place and the nation is the people, which go wherever. Now that being said, Africa itself is a continent. And this continent is composed of over 54 countries. And in those 54 countries, various nations inhabit these countries. So, for example, the people who live in Northwest Africa, let's say Morocco, Mali, and Mauritania. When you ask them their nationality, they say Moroccan, Malian, or Mauritanian, as opposed to African. Furthermore, I'm from the Bronx originally. I've had many conversations with so-called Africans. So-called Africans never call themselves Africans amongst themselves. And they only call themselves Africans when they're dealing with somebody who only knows African, but they themselves would never refer to themselves as African because they understand the concept of nationality and so will refer to each other by their nation. Oh, that brother's Senegalese. Oh, that brother is Cote d'Ivoirian. Oh, that brother is South African, even though South Africa is a political jurisdiction. It's a country. The nation of people is in South Africans. And those people, I would hope, know better than to call themselves South Africans, which is obviously a colonization label because just like in America, we call ourselves African American, but Africa is a continent, not a nation of people. South Africans know that, but they didn't go through what we went through here and for the length of time. So with that being said, brother, we know that Africa can't be a nation, and America is simply the country of our birth. Not so much a nation, because America is a continent, North America, Central America, South America, but the United States of America is a dual society, a government. De facto or de jure irrelevant, they exist, they're recognized by all the nations of the earth, and I don't know if you drive, but if you did, I would hope you have a license if I ever ask you for a ride home. So, that, praise Allah, a good citizen right here. So with that being said, how would we break down nationality minus the terms that wouldn't fit the description, the definition of the term we're using, which is nationality.
Okay, let's step out of the definition for a moment and realize that the 54 countries that you're speaking of don't exist. Because they were created at the Berlin Conference.
Talk about it.
So that they don't exist.
That's right.
And so that nation and all the words that we use, as Dr. Laila Africa was talking about, are all social constructs which do not exist.
Hold on. Is the language itself a social construct?
No, not necessarily. It is a linguistical ability, because language could also be a drum. Language could also be your hands doing sign language. Language is more than just language. Is the art of communicating an idea.
Would language be defined? Would you? I ain't even mean to cut your wisdom out, but pardon me. I just want to gain understanding. So, I mean, we're going to use definitions for this word. Can we define language as signs and symbols used for communicating?
You could.
All right. Is that what? Or can we agree with that definition?
You could, but signs and symbols would also have to mean facial expressions.
Yeah, well, that's
it would also
hands.
So indeed, all of that, which conveys an idea that the other person understands what it is that you are communicating to them.
Yes.
So therefore, whether you're speaking one language or another, or if someone has body language, or young brothers do hip hop and rap, there's certain ways in which they communicate with each other that people who are not exposed to that language would not understand.
Woo, thank you.
So what we have to do is we have to go back to a way in which it's realistically, we have the realistic ability to reach the most of our people. And if we are using definitions and words that our people are not used to, the language that we are using to convey our ideas will not be understood. If they are not understood, then it is like trying to bring somebody across a bridge where they don't know how to get across the bridge, so you have to go across to the bridge, take their hand, and bring them across. And so what I'm attempting to do is to use words that the world would understand, that the great masses of our people understand, in order to bring them to where I want them to be as it relates to the building of the nation itself. The nation is singular. There is only one nation. There is only one universe. There's only one nation. And that one nation comprises a lot of different thoughts and possibilities. And out of that comes the history of the people, the language of the people, and what we call the psychological factor, which includes the values, the interests, and the principles, rituals, ceremonies, things that we do. And that unites a people. When we look at the ancient worlds, normally they were natural boundaries that created it. Maybe it might be a mountain range on one level, it might be another river on the south, it might be the grasslands that created this. When Eurasians came in, they carved it up along political, economic boundaries. And so you might have, for instance, in Sierra Leone and in Liberia, you have a Vai people. But when the French came in and separated that part of the Vai people from Liberia, you have an English-speaking side, you have a French-speaking side, but you have one Vai people who have been split in half.
Even though they're called by two different things.
They are related.
Because they're the same people.
Now they're Sierra Leoneans and Liberians, as opposed to their natural boundaries demanded that everybody were Vai.
Now let's stay on that topic. You said one is Sierra Leone and what's the other one?
Liberian.
Okay, now Liberia and Sierra Leone, these are countries, right?
Under the social construct, yes, but in reality they're not. But you see, if I'm talking to the masses of our people, brother, I have to speak in a language that they understand, otherwise they're not going to understand the message I'm trying to give them.
Now, we're speaking the English language, right?
Yes, we are.
Are you, now, so now,
but I could say it in Spanish too.
But look, whatever I said.
Sierra Leone, Liberiano.
Pero aunque nosotros estamos diciendo eso, esas gentes son ciudadanos de ese particular país. Y ese país tiene una nación que vive adentro de él. So ahora lo que yo estoy expresando, que aunque ellos se llaman Sierra Leones o Liberianos, esas gentes.
Now, hermano, how many folk out there understand what you're talking about?
Well, I got it.
No. I'm not talking about the Spanish-speaking community. I'm speaking about the English-speaking community.
Oh, let's talk about it right now. So,
but how many would understand what you just said?
In Spanish?
Yeah, what you just said.
In English or Spanish?
In your symbolic vocality. How many English speakers would have understood what you just said?
What I said in Spanish?
Yes.
The ones that speak Spanish, I don't know.
No. The ones that speak English, would they understand you?
Nah.
That's why Malcolm said you got to speak in the language that you're supposed to.
So let's talk about it like this, right? So now, are you saying that...
But what you're saying is correct. You just said it in Spanish. It could be said in German. It could be said in a lot of other languages too.
Yo, man.
And then you'd lose the Spanish speakers. You'd lose the...
Yo, man, we about to drop the next DVD, man, in this whole... Because, the God just went deep to look.
No, okay, I'll stay where we are. Okay.
But, now, because what I'm saying is, in the English language, if I give you a word that you don't know the definition to, right? and then I give you the definition, I don't know how I missed you. It's like, okay, when I was young, right, and somebody said, well, that's irrelevant. I'm gonna go look up what irrelevant means. Now I know what irrelevant means.
No, you don't. You know what irrelevant means by the writer of that particular definition. Irrelevant could be something else.
Can I retract that statement and restate it?
No, because I want to tell you something else. Because that's just what I meant when I was talking this evening about Richard King's book on melanin, Key to Freedom. What he did is half of that book is a glossary that has definitions. I told our community that one of the most important things about that book is that Richard King gave us definitions coming from an African perspective, that the words that we have been introduced to with Merriam-Webster and any of the other dictionaries, it's coming from a certain perspective. But if you should look at how Richard King defined that word, it takes you to a whole nother way of looking at the very same thing that we're talking about, even though we're reading the same passage.
So if that would be the case, and there's such a discrepancy with the English language, then why don't we speak another language then? Because I'm gonna tell you this, right? And this is a point no one will ever dispute, ever. Do you call yourself black?
Sometimes I do.
Do you ever call yourself a Negro?
Very rarely.
Do you ever call yourself a Negro while speaking in Spanish?
Well, I'm always saying black. Negro is.
Do you say, pero nosotros negros, or los negros de Norte America? Do you say that?
No.
Of course not.
No.
Of course not. Why would you do that? How dare you call your people Negro? But I'm speaking a different language.
But Negro, the word Negro is a
Spanish.
social but it's a social construct.
Brother, when the Moors were in Spain, from 711 to 1492, speaking Spanish, were we not using the word Negro?
During when the
From
Africans
711 to 1492, the Moors were in Spain. They founded and constructed the Spanish language. Around 1513, by whatever pope wrote the papal bull, he renamed, or he said that everything that would be known as Moorish, or that is known as Moorish, would be renamed and known to be Spanish. So we know that all the things that are called Spanish now are due to the construct, the social construct of people manipulating words and attributing them to things that are different. So for example, somebody says I'm black and the connotation is, yeah, we're all black people, yeah, but the definition of black, I'm not, the denotation. So whatever emotion makes you feel good is cute for the moment, but if you call me a Negro in Spanish, I'm like, ¿por qué tú me estás llamándome a mí un negro? Because when I be in PR, or if I'm anywhere, I mean, pardon me, like Eastside of Borican, which is referred to as PR, or any place where they speak Spanish, especially the Bronx, I've never been called a Negro by no Spanish people, so-called Spanish people, ever. The only people who call me Negro are the people who speak English, and they use it in a derogatory term because they think or are under the impression that I don't know the definition of the word, that Negro is basically pale.
Absolutely. But now, let's take that concept and let's walk backwards. Because the Spanish language, the French language, the Portuguese language, the French language, and the Romanian language,
Yes.
are based within a Latin context.
Yes.
What the Africans that went into Europe did, 710, 711, but 710 to 1492, what they did is that they brought another African language in that we call Arabic. And in bringing Arabic in, they then melded the Arabic language with the Latin language. The Latin language came from the Greeks. And the Greeks got it from...
You said the Latin language came from the Greeks?
Yeah.
I don't want to argue,
well,
I just want to
but the fact is that there is no Latin language.
May I?
And you know why?
Why? Tell me.
Because to have a language, you have to have a script. There is no Latin script. They use the Greek script.
All right, may I?
Now, the Greek script came from hieroglyphs and Demotic. So that even when we're writing our ABCs, we're still writing in an African script. To have a language, you have to have a script that describes that language. Spanish isn't a language. German isn't a language.
Bear witness.
Because they don't have a script. They use the Greek script. The Greek script got it from the Africans.
Well, now that's where I don't bet as far as the Greeks and all that.